What up, though, people? Thank you for pushing play on the Lions Roar vlog. We are on chapter 65 of book 1 of Adam and Eve. Book 1 of 2. There's 2 books of Adam and Eve, and we're going to go ahead and jump in. If you want to catch up to where we are, everything is posted. If you go to my page, there's in a playlist entitled The Books of Adam and Eve. All right, the entire first book is there all the way up to where I am. And there's also the first 5 chapters of Genesis is there. But what I did was I deviated at the end of chapter 5, came down, and we're dealing with the books of Adam and Eve. Then we're going back up to Genesis chapter 6. So that's what happened there. All right. So if you want to catch up, everything is there. Let's go ahead and jump in. All right. Chapter 65. Adam and Eve acquire digestive organs. Final hope of returning to the garden is quenched. All right. Let's see what happens. And when it was day, they rose and prayed after their custom, after it was customary or what they're used to doing, and went out of the cave. But as they felt great trouble from the food they had eaten and to which they were not used, they went about in the cave, saying to each other, "What has happened to us through eating, that this pain should have come upon us?" Y'all know, some of y'all probably starting to get it. Like, wait a minute, that pain, we all get that pain. We know what that is, but let's keep reading. What has happened to us through eating, that this pain should have come upon us? Woe be to us, we shall die. So they thought they were going to die. They weren't used to it. It's gas, y'all. They were getting gassy. Their body is starting to have to break down and process the food and move it through the body. So there's things that's happening that they're not used to at all. They're not used to it. All right. So this is where they're gaining their digestive organs here. That's what it means, is they're starting to understand that they have really moved into the animal state, like what the spirit has told them as we've been reading. Okay. Woe be to us, we shall die. Better for us to have died than to have eaten and to have kept our bodies pure than to have defiled them with food. Side note, I want to say right here that I'm going to keep going. I'm going to try not to break this up in the middle of me reading, but sometimes I can't help it because this is a read and response vlog. So I'm going to respond to what I read personally. All right. There's a movie. It's about the Last King of Scotland. In the Last King of Scotland, the king Idi Amin had ended up getting gas, and he had serious pain, and he's trying to figure out what's going on with this pain. They thinking that he's about to die. Like, it's all this stuff. He just knew it was about to be over for him, that he couldn't figure out what was going on. And there's this, I think the guy's like a missionary or some kind of outsider, or he's there doing a documentary or something, I forget. But he's like, hey, wait a minute. What did you eat today? Or like, did you just eat in the last however long? And the king says, yeah, sure, this, that, and the third. He's like, hey, wait a minute. Someone bring me a stick or a bat or whatever he gets. So he goes and he gets, I think it's a bat or a stick, some kind of stick. And he gets permission, and he puts it up on the king Idi Amin's gut, and he pulls it, and like he's doing the Heimlich, but he's like pulling it and pulls it, and I mean lets out a burn. Like, he just oh man, when he let that gas go, he was talking about how relieved he was and all this other type of stuff. That's what they're going through right there. They're the new humans, so they really they really don't know what's going on. They're like, yo, man, we about to die up in this piece. This gas. They don't know that yet. But let's keep reading now. Then Adam said to Eve, this pain did not come to us in the garden, neither did we eat such bad food there. So they did eat, and they did not have to digest the food the same way. This is what this is saying. Thinkest thou, O Eve, that God will plague us through the food that is in us? Or do you think, Eve, that God will plague us through the food that is in us? Or that our inwards will come out? Or that God means to kill us with this pain before he has fulfilled his promise to us? Then Adam besought the Most High, or besought the Lord, and said, O Lord, let us not perish through the food we have eaten. Smite us not, Most High, but deal with us according to your great mercy, and forsake us not until the day of promise that you have made for us. Then God looked upon them and at once fitted them for eating food as unto this day, so that they should not perish, and as unto this day as well. Because when they say as unto this day, they meant when that thing was actually penned down on the paper. Okay, so that would have been a long time ago. So as unto this day as well, same thing. Okay, so hold on. Where am I at? Somebody does not should not perish unto this day, so that they should not perish. Okay. I'm sorry. Forgive me for that. Then Adam and Eve came back into the cave, sorrowful and weeping because of the alteration in their nature, the change in their nature. They didn't like it. They were sad. And they both knew from that hour that they were altered beings. They knew. That's deep right there. They knew. Even though they didn't understand everything, they knew that at that point. They understood it. Why could they understand it? Because they understood what it was like to be in a higher state and transition into the lower state. Okay? First man, first woman definitely would have understood that because of just the transitions and just their entryway into this existence. Okay? So they both knew that from that hour they were altered beings, that their hope of returning to the garden was now cut off, and that they could not enter it. So they knew once their bodies were altered, they knew that they weren't going back into the garden just simply because of the way that they used to consume food in the garden. As you can see, they're not used to the food. They're not used to the change that happened to them. And now they're starting to realize, oh man, we're never getting back. Which you think they would have already realized that by now, because the Spirit definitely told them, you're not getting back. Not now. Sorry. You're not getting back up in here. You're not getting back to the garden. You're not coming back up to the garden, if you catch my drift. Not now. In the future. But not now. And you're going to have to be saved. There's going to have to be a salvation point. And there's going to be things that you're going to have to do, because I'm going to make your kind prove to me at any moment, at any time that they petition to me or they come, holding me to my promises. I'm going to make your kind prove themselves because they transgressed a little bit too easy for my liking. All right. So they knew at that point. For now that their bodies had strange functions, and all flesh that requires food and drink for its existence cannot be in the garden. All flesh that requires food and drink for its existence cannot be in the garden. But remember, it said earlier, this ain't the same food that we ate. So they weren't eating for existing. It wasn't sustenance. It was purely probably for pleasure. It probably was, it would have had to been for pleasure. Because they didn't need it to exist. They didn't need it to live, to be alive, to have the spark of life in the state that they were in before they moved into the animal state, if you will, the animal-like state. Even though they're humans, respect to that they're humans. Because, they're not, even though some of these humans act like animals. And they may have, and we're mammals and we're classified as mammals, but human ain't an animal. All right. So they cannot be in the garden because of if it requires the food and drink for its existence, which is deep. That says a lot right there. Then Adam said to Eve, behold, our hope is now cut off, and so is our trust to enter the garden. We no longer belong to the inhabitants of the garden. That's deep right there. But henceforth we are earthy and of the dust and of the inhabitants of the earth. We shall not return to the garden until the day in which the Most High God has promised to save us and bring us again into the garden as he promised us. Then they prayed to God that he would have mercy on them, after which their mind was quieted or calmed and they had peace. Their hearts were broken and their longing was cooled down, and they were like strangers on earth. That night Adam and Eve spent in the cave, where they slept heavily by reason of the food they had eaten. So right here, we got some science happening. You know, we're see that itis didn't hit them. If you catch my drift, that itis didn't hit them. That gas didn't hit them. So what this chapter is saying to us is that the humans, they changed. They were in a different state. They changed to a different state than what they were in. They changed. And so this is saying, like, you know, now your food has to digest. You know, now you need to eat the food to exist and to continue to have energy to live. Because if you don't get that, because you're not in that higher state anymore, and you're subject to the physical body that I had to put on you. Remember, he tells them this probably about 10 chapters ago. Go listen to it. They're all posted. You know, he says, I had to put the skin that could regulate hot and cold over your true beinghood, because, well, this earth that you're in, it requires it. Or like how you're about to live now, this existence, it requires it. Yo. So that's it right there with that chapter. It's a very interesting chapter right there. No, not too much spiritual happenings, but I mean, man, you know, you got to look at that. Well, and then, excuse me, let's look at this spiritually also. Let me just add a spiritual angle, and then this video going to be over. Let's say that, see, now spiritual, the lesson here is they were in a higher state, they transgressed, and now in the lower state, which is definitely inferior to the higher state, which is superior. Then once they go into the lower state, even their process there, the food to exist, there's pain response. There's time, and there's all this stuff that now has to happen. And there's all this extra. The food ain't working. The bodies has to change. Now they got to feel pain. They got to go sleep for the body to take the energy and process it and then store it up so that when they wake, they can have that energy that they need to move forward. Because the created beings, as far as men go, and it's as far as everything, but it's definitely as far as men go, we need to always be moving forward. That's one of the major things going on the planet right now with all these leaders and the wars and rumors of wars. A lot of this stuff happens because these people are not moving forward. They love staying stagnant, stuck, typical, regular, comfortable, what they're used to. That means that's not ever moving forward. You understand? So, you know, forward is the way that we have to go. So, you know, it's not that much, again, in this chapter, it's not that much spiritual going on, but I like this chapter because it indicates to us, okay, that now this is, you know, the humans as they moved and as they transcended from one state to another to change. Now, you know, it's saying like this was the path of the humans. At some point, they had to gain the knowledge of the fact that they were going to have gas and need to go to sleep so their body could process what they had just eaten. You know, that's what it is now. And they weren't ever used to that before. So I find that very interesting. All right, chapter 66 coming up next. Thank y'all for pushing play. If it resonates with you, hit the subscription button, share it with somebody, leave a comment. Let me know if you appreciate what I'm doing. Let me know if you don't like it, if you hate the fact that my skin is black, or whatever you think that I should shut up. If you just want to talk some crazy, you know how they get on the internet, whatever, leave it in the comment section. All right, y'all be blessed, man. Peace.